Hi, everybody. Welcome to STEAM Fridays for April 23rd. Today, you 3 to 6-year-olds are going to be working with me on some blow painting with straws. And I'm really excited for this one and looking forward to it. Even though I'm excited for all of them and look forward to all of them, I think this one will be perfect for a rainy, cool day outside. So before we get started with our kits, though, I would love to read a book to you. And this book is called A Year with the Wind, and it's written by Hannah Canola. In April, I gently fly kites in the sky. There, the wind is helping to fly kites. Look at all those different colors, black and blue and gray. In May, I blow flower petals here and there. We are definitely having leaves blow around in April. Has anybody tried to fly a kite yet this month? Maybe you can try in the next few days or over the weekend. In June, I push soft summer clouds in the sky. That looks like fun. Do you ever stop and look at clouds in the sky and picture what they look like? A little dog or a sheep? My kids and I do that sometimes, and that's fun. In July, I blow boats on their way. Look at all those boats. In August, I bring rain clouds from the faraway seas. Ooh, August rain. In September, I let birds ride on my back toward the south. We have lots of birds near our house in the summertime and in the fall when birds start to migrate, and they gather in the fields around us and they make lots of noise and peck all the remaining seeds to get ready for their journey south that the wind helps them with. In October, I twist and twirl and strip leaves off the trees. That always seems to happen right when the leaves are at their most beautiful colors. And then a big strong wind comes along and blows them all onto the ground, doesn't it? But those, oh, that looks like it's what happened here. In November, I blow leaves into big piles with mighty gusts. Then those leaves are fun to pile up on the ground and jump into. Do any of you do that? My kids do that too. In December, I dance around with snowflakes. That's for sure. Lots and lots of snow and sometimes wind in December here. In January, I blow some speed for skaters on ice. How many of you like to go skating? Maybe some of you play hockey or do figure skating. Those are all fun things to do. In February, I sometimes stay very still. Look at these footprints in the snow up to this tree. And there doesn't seem to be much movement of the wind. Maybe these straight lines are the wind just resting still. In March, I tickle your cheeks and look forward to a new spring. Oh, look at those little gusts of wind tickling these cheeks. I like the illustrations, the pictures in this book, because they have very simple shapes, but all together those simple shapes make interesting pictures. Here we go through the months, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. That's not quite the order we usually go in for the months, but that's where they started in this book with April, and that's the month we're in right now. So I thought that worked out pretty well. And there's a picture at the end showing all the birds flying and the boats being blown and the clouds being blown. And you might be wondering why I chose to read a book about the wind when we are doing painting. What do those have to do with each other? But I chose that book because today we get to be the wind and we are going to blow our paint through our straws to make beautiful pictures. And I am so excited to see the pictures that you make with your paint and with your blow straws today. So please share them on Facebook, on the library Facebook page, or on YouTube, or anywhere that you think we could see them. We would love to see what you make. So let's grab our kits now and start with our supplies list. What you should have in your paper bag, and I know that I missed at least one bag with an eyedropper, so I do apologize for that. I tried to be careful while I was packing them, but I guess I missed one. So if you don't have the eyedropper, it's not 100% necessary. It's for dripping the paint on the page to start with. So you could do that with a spoon or anything else you could scoop with, or you could just pour it out of the little container onto the page and blow it around that way. So if you have the eyedropper, it's easier and it's good fine motor finger movement practice. But if you don't have it, you can still do this project. So if you don't have an eyedropper, that's okay, but you should have an eyedropper in your kit. If I can find mine way down at the bottom. Here we go. So we used that last time with our fizzing rainbow. So you could also, if you got one in your fizzing rainbow kit and not in this paint kit, you could use the one you have from before. So we have our eyedropper. We have a sheet of cardstock paper. So cardstock is a little thicker than normal paper, and sometimes that's good for painting so that the paint doesn't soak into the page so quickly, and it's a little easier for us to blow it around. Then you should also have some kind of a straw. They all looked different, so it might be a colored straw or a very thick straw, or one of these skinny little white and red ones that looks kind of like a candy cane. So whatever straw you have, you can use, and you should have 2 colors of paint. And your paint colors will also be different. So I have purple and yellow, but you may have all kinds of different colors. So all of our pictures are going to look a little bit different, and that is just fine. On the Yule Supply portion of our list, I suggested a black permanent marker, and that is what we will be using either to draw a picture before you add your paint to your page, and then you can blow the paint around to try and fill in your picture. Or if you would prefer, you can put the paint on the page and blow it around, and then once it has dried, you can use your permanent marker to trace pictures that you see in the paint from the different directions and ways that you have blown your paint. So you can do both ways. If you have enough paint, you can do both, or you can choose one or the other, whichever you would prefer. And if you don't have a black permanent marker, you could just use a black pen. You could outline it in pencil or pencil crayon or marker of any color. The black will just stand out really well to outline the pictures that you see or the picture that you want to have in your picture, in your paint, and the black will stand out well against any paint color that you have. So that is optional. I also recommend, and I forgot to put this on our supply list, that you get some kind of paper towel or old newspaper or magazine to lay down underneath your cardstock so that if you blow the paint off of your paper, then it doesn't get on your clothes or your table or whatever surface you're working on. It can just go onto the paper towel or newspaper and be easy to clean up. So if you have something like that, that would be great. Also optional would be a paint shirt so that your lovely clothes don't get dirty. All right, I'm going to take a minute to set up so that you can see my paint paper best, and then we'll get started. Okay, here we are all set up, ready to go. Another thing that I forgot to suggest before is that you could have a glass of water nearby so that if your paint is too thick to drip on your page or it's not spreading very well, then you can use your eyedropper to put a few drops of water into the paint so that it's a little easier to work with. So I'm going to start by doing that, and I'm just going to use my eyedropper to suck up a little bit of water, so squeezing the end before I put it into the water, and then once the tip is in the water, I can let it go, so it will suck up water. You can see it wiggling around in there, and I'll just drop just a few drops into the paint to start with, and I will stir it up with my eyedropper, and it might take a few tries to get it the right consistency, to the right thickness. We want it to be pretty runny so that it will blow easily on your page and not stick down too much. So I've got to add a little bit more water here. And if you want to use a popsicle stick or a spoon or even a paintbrush to mix your paint with the water, then you are more than welcome to do that as well. I just thought I would use the supplies I have here. So you want it to be fairly smooth and to have the paint and water mixed together so that they're not chunky, or so that you can see that they're well mixed and that the water isn't just sitting on top of the paint. So we can take a few minutes to do that. Get it all together. All right. And I will just get as much scraped off in there as I can, and then I will wipe the extra paint off of my eyedropper onto the paper towel. That's also what the newspaper and paper towel are useful for. Okay, so my yellow looks pretty good. Hopefully, I won't need to add more water as we go, but if I do, then that's okay. And if you do, then that's all right as well. So you might need to add about 1 eyedropper worth of water to your paint. It has been sitting for a little while since I made these kits, so it's kind of dried out a little bit, but hopefully it hasn't dried too much for you to use. And so I will keep mixing this up so you can see that this watery bit down here is not totally mixed in with my paint. So I want to keep mixing it until it is smooth and well mixed together. And I will keep mixing, mixing, mixing. You might have to scrape it off the bottom of your container a little bit. I'm finding that it's sticking down quite a bit. So this might be easier with a spoon, something that's a little more sturdy than our eyedroppers here. So you can get all of the paint scraped in so that it'll mix well with the water that you add. And you can pause the video now if you need to get to the right consistency, and then you can start it up again, or you can keep mixing with me while I work on mine. And I think I might need just a little bit more water in here. So I will try to suck up a little bit more and drop some in. There we go. All right. Yeah, I think that's working a little better. So, ooh, and I've got paint sprayed everywhere there. That's okay. All right. So once your paint is fairly runny, we're going to actually use the eyedropper to drip it onto the page anyhow. So what you can do is drip it in a few places around the page so that you can blow your spots of paint towards each other, or you can drop it all in one place and blow the paint out in various different directions and in different ways. And I'm going to suggest some different ways that we can blow our paint to have different effects and to make it look differently. So I'm going to try a few different things. This point, if you are wanting to draw a picture that you will paint with your blow painting, this would be the time to add it. So I can show you how to do both options. First, I'm going to put those drops of paint there, and I'm going to find pictures in that paint after I blow it. But down here in this corner, I am going to draw, we just had Easter at the beginning of the month, so I am going to draw an Easter egg. Something that's fairly simple, but still has the opportunity for me to add a few different colors of paint on it. So there is my Easter egg. And now I will drip some paint on it, and I will try to paint it like an Easter egg, and we'll see how that goes. All right, so let's see if my paint is clear enough. And we are going to have some color mixing. It's absolutely okay if you have your two paint colors mixed together. You only have one eyedropper, so that's kind of how it's going to work when we're dripping, unless you want to get your eyedropper from our fizzing rainbow kit, then you could do that as well. But I'm just going to drip my paint around here. This one seems a little thicker again. So we'll get it mixed in. And we can also see what happens when we combine different colors of paint. We can see if new colors are made or if it just makes an interesting combination of the two colors, but it's not really a recognizable other color. Okay, so those are my dots that I'm going to find pictures in afterwards, and I'm going to make my zigzaggy stripe of my Easter egg yellow as well. So I'll add that on there. All right, once you have your paint on the page, and you don't have to put it all on right away. You can put on a little bit and then try some more, adding some more afterwards. But to start with, I'm going to have this much. Now, what you will want to do is grab your straw, and you can bend it if it's a bendy straw if you want, if that's easier, or you can keep it straight. It should work both ways. And we're just going to gently, to start with, blow on the paint on our page. All right, so do you see where I blew on the paint, the spots are wider? And did you notice I am blowing from behind these dots and the paint is moving in which direction? Does it blow towards me or to the sides, or does it blow away from me? That's right, it blows away from me. So when our wind, your air blowing on the paint, blows on the paint, it moves it away from us. Now, what happens if I blow in a different direction? What if I turn my page? I'm going to move my water out of the way here. What if I turn my page? So this is the direction that I was blowing my paint last time, and I've turned my page to the side. Let's see what happens. I'm going to try it on my Easter egg this time to try and blow onto my zigzag line. All right. So what did you notice with that? Whichever direction I was blowing, that is the direction that the paint moves in. So the paint always moves away from the wind that's blowing on it. Okay, now let's try something different. What if you blow a little more gently? Don't blow too hard, but just blow very softly. All right, I'll try over here as well. Did you notice anything different when you blew more softly on your paint? My paint seems to be a little bit thick, so it's hard to make it move if I don't blow with a fair amount of strength. But if you mixed more water into your paint, then it would blow more easily. And you might find that the paint is darker where you blow more gently because it doesn't spread the paint out as thinly on your page. So more paint stays in each spot because you're not blowing it hard enough to spread it out all the way. So some of my spots are very dark, but you might be able to see on my Easter egg, there's a thin little line there, and it's lighter in color because there's not as much paint there. All right, let's try something different. What if blowing on through our straw in the way we have been is called wind, if we blow through it in short spurts, that is called a gust of wind. So let's see what happens if we blow short spurts of air through our straw to see what it does with our paint. All right. What did you notice happened? I found that when I blew straight down on the paint, it moved out kind of in a circle. It didn't go forward away from my wind like it did when I was blowing with wind. With spurts, it kind of went out in a circle. So that was actually helpful to fill in my Easter egg. I'm kind of noticing that it's hard to keep the paint blowing in the right direction, to keep just my stripes yellow and just the ends of my egg purple. So you might be finding that with the picture you drew as well, that it's not as easy to keep the colors in the lines as it might be with markers or crayons. And I'm also noticing that my paint is getting a little bit dry. So I'm going to add a little more paint, a little more water, I'm sorry, to my paint. And then I'm going to add more paint to my picture so that I can keep going. We'll try a few more different ways of blow painting. And even if I don't suggest a certain way of painting, by all means, try out different things, blowing harder, blowing more gently, blowing in different directions, anything you can think of that you want to try. This is your experiment. Okay, I'm going to add a nice chunk of yellow paint there. And I'll add a bit more over here, some lines of paint. I just did spots last time, so I'll try some lines if I can. Okay, and I'm going to try some purple paint being added as well. I'll just try to rinse out my eyedropper. All right. My purple paint is still pretty runny, but I'm going to add just a little more water just in case, just to see what it does. And you can also experiment, especially if you have more paint at home, with adding different amounts of water to see if it changes how your paint moves in gusts or winds of blowing through your straw, or if it changes how it moves on your page, no matter how you blow on it. All right, let's get some more purple on here. Do a line of purple down here. My purple does not want to make lines. It wants to make blobs, and that's okay. There we go. That's a good line. Okay, so let's see if we can try blowing our two colors of paint together. So I have some yellow and purple pretty close together here, so I'm going to see what I can do with that. I'm first going to try blowing in with wind, with a long breath of air to see how it will combine. All right, do you see how that yellow has combined? Now, yellow and purple doesn't seem to be making a different color. It still seems to look like yellow and purple, but maybe your colors are combining together to make different colors. Tell me about that in a comment, or you can even call us at the library and tell us what happens with your STEAM activities. And what colors you've been able to make. And look, I've helped fill in my egg a little bit more by blowing my purple paint. And I found that adding more water made it much easier to blow these blobs and lines of paint than my first ones. So that is something I learned in this experiment. That's helpful. All right, now I'm going to try to combine my colors. I'm going to combine these lines and dots over here with short bursts of air or gusts of air, and we'll see what happens. All right, so I noticed again that Blowing in gusts made my paint spread out more in a circle shape in all directions, whereas when I blew in long gusts, you can see the skinny little lines of yellow paint that blew into the purple, whereas I kind of made more circle shapes with my short gusts. And I'm still noticing that purple and yellow just seem to be purple and yellow, even when they're mixed together. But we can see if that changes when it dries. All right, I'm going to turn my page and try blowing in some different directions. All right, I'm going to try over here now. And I just realized I need to put a little bit of purple paint on the bottom of my egg here because I haven't painted that yet. Once I get that done, we can start to look for shapes and different pictures in my spots that I painted first. And mine isn't dry yet, so I'm not actually going to use my permanent marker to write on it. But once it's dry, I can post a picture in the comments underneath this YouTube video, and I'll show you some of the pictures that I've outlined. And I would love to see you do the same thing. All right, let's get this purple finished. All right, so I want to blow in gusts because that's what makes the paint spread out in a circle, and I want to fill this whole circle area. Wow, that really filled out well. Let me turn the page around. That worked well, almost done. Turn it again. All right. Most of my paint seems to be drying. So let's look at some of the pictures I might have created. What do you see in my paint? If I am looking, I can see something that looks almost like a purple Canadian goose right here with its head on this end and its long beak, then its wings and its body over here. And what else is in here? This could be a bear's face or a lion's face. It seems like maybe there are ears up around the edges here and a big furry face underneath the bottom. So maybe I'll have to add some details to that once it's dry. And something up here, I'm just not sure what that could be. It almost looks like it has skinny little legs sticking out the bottom of it. Maybe it's an insect of some kind, but it only has 2 legs. So maybe it's an insect that's sitting down except for 2 of its legs. All right, that is the end of our STEAM Friday activity for today. I hope you had fun blow painting with me. I had lots of fun, and I can't wait to see or hear about your pictures. So have fun, show us what you've done, and I'll see you next time. Bye.